This video is sponsored by Wing Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well today for another interview. We've got Cedric here. Say hello, Cedric.
Hello.
Hello, and thank you very much for coming. The title is A-6 Intruder Plane Captain, and this is part of the ground crew, if you like, and it preps the plane for flight. Synopsis: I joined the Navy in 1985. I went to Great Lakes RT. I then attended Airman School. I transferred to VA-42, a A-6 Intruder Training Squadron. Finished A-6 FAM School. Is that Familiarization School?
Yes.
Then transferred to VA-35, where I worked the Flight Line Division. The squadron had the A-6E and the Ka-6D tanker variants. I studied the air on my own time. My squadron was aboard the USS Nimitz, USS Roosevelt. Then I traded out to the Seabees. What's the Seabees?
Seabees is the Navy's construction.
Oh. There were 4 variants of the aircraft. Okay, anything before we start with the questions?
Nope, far away.
Okay, so first question from Mad Dogs is, how reliable generally was the A6, just considering all versions that you worked on?
The A-6 was a very reliable medium bomber. It could hit the target. It was not stealthy, no, but it was all weather. We could launch in the nighttime. We could launch in a thunderstorm. It would get to the target and hit the target.
Mm-hmm. Is it true that it had no offensive protection to defend itself? So it had carried no air-to-air missiles, no gun, and so on.
No, it was totally relying on the at the time it was a Vietnam vintage aircraft.
Mm-hmm. It
relied on the high cap and low cap of the F8 and the F4 Phantom. The way the Intruder was used was that the Phantoms and the other aircraft would go in first.
Mm-hmm.
They would clear the area out, the skies out of enemy airplanes. And then the Intruders would come in at a low level, hugging the ground.
Right.
And when they got to their target, they'd pop up, hit a target, turn around, and go back down to the ground.
So it sounds
so that way, the air-to-air missiles or the ACAC couldn't lock onto them.
See, so they were using their ability to fly very low as their protection.
Right, and plus at that time, there wasn't no ground, air-to-ground radar.
Mm-hmm.
Not a reliable one. So they could always use the jungle to mask their attack.
I mean, you've kind of answered this, but what role did the A6 Intruder have? Now, or should I say, what roles did the A6 Intruder have? Because there were several variants, wasn't there?
Right. Okay, you had, excuse me. Now, when I was in the service, you had the A6E, which was the bomber. You had the Ka-6D, which was a tanker. And you had the EA-6B prowler, mm-hmm. which was the electronic jamming variant. Now, before then, there was a EA-6E, which was a 2-seater jamming plane, but that one phased out quickly.
Yeah, I just found some really interesting pictures of the tanker variant. Didn't even know that existed. Okay, very good. Let's push on. What was different about the Intruder than the other jets that you worked on or worked around?
Well, like I said, the Intruder, like I said, it was a medium bomber. It carried the same payload as a B-17
It's crazy.
of World War II. The variant I used had the TRAM unit, which was a FLIR, forward-looking infrared, which used infrared and lasers to designate a target or to find the target. And that was up to the BN. Because remember, there were 2 people in there. You had the pilot on the left, the BN on the right. And the BN, his responsibility was to operate both the radar and the FLIR unit to locate the target, guide the pilot to the target, lock onto the target, and if there was, like, say, a Marine unit down there, right, and they were lasering a target, it was the BN's job to turn the FLIR on to pick up that laser beam, so when they dropped the laser-guided bomb, it would lock onto the laser beam and guide all the way down to it.
What did you say the name of the flare is, and where is it mounted on the plane?
It's called a FLIR, and it was mounted under the nose.
Mm-hmm. Is it like a little kind of half ball shape?
Right. Actually, they used to call it before. It's called the mini R2D2.
Yeah, it looks just like it. All right.
With this one, only thing with this one, all you could do is you could roll the ball up into itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was it. So, like the other, I can't remember the name of them now. What they're using now, what the Air Force is using now, because in the Navy, because that camera can roll itself up into the airplane.
Hmm.
But this one you couldn't. That little ball always stuck out.
Was it the E variant that used this tram, this flare?
Right.
Right.
Right. The other one, the like I say, the A, B, C, and D were all radar guided.
Can you tell us what was the difference between the different variants? We've already done that. So, unless there's anything you want to add on that about the difference between the variants?
Well, one thing different with the prowler, that one had 4 people in it. We used to call it the station wagon because you have the pilot, the navigator, just a navigator, and then you'd have 2 electronic guys in the back. And like I said, that variant would go ahead of the strike package, blind the ground radar and SAM units, so there'd be a hole in the net, and the bombing package would fly through that hole.
Yeah, I see. It's kind of got like an extended nose out the front, hasn't it? So, and it's got
Right.
2 guys and then 2 guys behind, a bit like a car. Interesting.
Right, that's what we call the station wagon.
Mm-hmm. Did you say you worked on those as well?
No, we didn't work on them,
Mm-hmm.
but since they were an A-6 variant, we had dealings with them when we were on the carrier because like I say, engine parts were the same, wing parts, so if they would need something from us, we'd help them, we shared parts and stuff.
Yeah. These later variants, like the Prowler, like the E model, did they all retire at different times or were all taken out of service at the same time? Any idea?
The A6E, the one that I worked on, and KA6D, actually they retired right after the second Iraq War.
All right.
And then the F-18 came in
Yeah.
because there was a light attack fighter bomber, the A-7. That was what the K-6. I mean, that's what the Hornet initially was supposed to retire.
Hmm.
And then they figured, well, hey, we want to make this a lot easier for the carrier. So instead of having 5 different aircraft, we're going to have 1 aircraft. And since Boeing Douglas said the 18 can do, everything, we're going to start phasing out, different aircraft. So the A-7 was first after the Gulf War. We were second after the second Gulf War. And then the F-14 during the Afghan incident. And then also at the same time, they started phasing out the Prowler with the Growler.
Mm. Did you use one of the aircraft's many nicknames, and what were those nicknames if you did?
Well, like I said, the Prowler was called the station wagon. Of course, the A-6D. That was called Texaco, and the Intruder was just the Intruder.
That's interesting. I've never heard of Station Wagon and Texaco. Why was it called Texaco? Oh right, I get it. Texaco's a maker of fuel, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or gas.
gasoline.
Right, I got it. Right, yep.
Flying gas station.
One gas station, right? Okay. Any idea how much fuel that could have on board the Texaco variant?
Yeah, 28K, 28,000 gallons.
Wow, that's actually quite impressive. That's the weight of some aircraft. And the normal Intruder, just the normal Intruder that would take the fuel from it, any idea how much that would carry in its internal?
It depended on the bombing run.
Any idea what its maximum was? For the normal A6E?
Maximum was 27 too.
27, really? Wow. That's a lot.
Well, you see, like I said, you can take all the bombs off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can put on each station, which was 5, a drop tank.
Okay.
And you can make the E version a tanker too, because we had a package for it. The centerline tank was the hose and drogue, because the centerline tank had a little fan on it, so that would activate the hose and the hydraulics.
Okay.
So if your tankers went down, you could turn a bomber into a tanker.
Next question. The A-6 was one of the first aircraft with self-diagnostic systems. I guess that means like electrical self-diagnostic systems. How good was it? And was it helping you find the problems that needed fixing?
It had it, but it wasn't like the F-18. The F-18, you could walk up to with a laptop, plug it in, talk to you. The A-6, you had to get a whole big unit out to the plane, plug into it, and then let it diagnose itself.
What was that kit like? Was it like on a big trolley or something like that?
No, it was like a big suitcase.
Okay. Old school, old 60s computers, I suppose.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Next question. Why were the movable jet nozzles... hang on, let me try and understand this one. Why were the movable jet nozzles removed from the production aircraft, in your opinion? I'm not sure what that means. Do you know what that means?
This is supposed to be the E variant and F variant of the Intruder. They were going to take the J52 engines off of it and put the F111 engines on it with the Afterburner package. But they tried it. It didn't quite work because of the angle of the engines. The exhaust, you see, the exhaust on an Intruder doesn't go straight out. It goes down, then out.
I see. So it's not straight.
No, it's not straight.
Interesting. And that's going to mess the afterburner up, presumably.
Correct.
Right. Interesting. Those actual nozzles at the back there, did they kind of close up and expand like a a modern F-18 or something, or were they just open all the time?
Well, on the variant, they wanted to use it. Like I said, they had the turkey feathers like an F-14.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
But like I said, they never put the nozzles on it. They just had it, just like I say, they used the J52 and it was a straight pipe.
Yeah. Okay, very good. What have we got next? What was the worst part on the Intruder that you had to work on? Or the most awkward part?
Well, they call it the the bird cage. It's where the radar is, where the ground radar dome is at. You can open it up, and it comes down hydraulically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to crawl up in there to work on the radar system. And the thing about it was, if you crawled up in there, no one saw you. So a lot of people would see it open, and try to close it, and there'd be somebody up in there.
Trying to get a picture. Whereabouts is this? Like on the front nose cone area, or
No,
somewhere
it's
else?
it's on the tail.
On the tail.
It's on the bottom, on the tail.
I can't find any pictures annoyingly, so it's hard to visualize what it looks like. So this cage thing came down.
Yes, it's just it's just a radar dome,
Mm-hmm.
and when you open it up, it looks like a cage.
Mm-hmm. And have a quick. I'm just looking around at pictures now to see if I can find anything like it. Was it called the bird cage?
Well, that was his nickname.
Let's have a look. No, I'd love to see a picture of that, but I can't find anything annoyingly. But maybe, I don't know, maybe they weren't allowed to take pictures of it or something. Ah, found it. Right, so is it just right next to the, the tail hook?
Right,
I see
exactly.
it. Yeah, right, there it is. How interesting. So you'd actually get up in that. Yeah, there it is. So it had a lot of radar gear back in the tail then.
Right.
I wonder why.
That's where the Doppler was.
How weird. And it's just like the air-to-ground radar, presumably.
Right.
Huh. Alright, that's interesting. Yep, I've seen that now. Oh yeah, there's even a kind of dish-type thing there. Interesting. Alright, that's something interesting to learn. I had no idea that was such a thing. So, birdcage, fair enough. Let's push on. Question 11. Did you have a specific training or to use and load any nuclear armament on the A-6?
That's classified.
I can't talk about that.
No.
Okay, we'll skip over that one then. Was the plane nuclear capable? I'm guessing a yes.
Yes.
Okay, wasn't aware of that. What was the engine that the jet used, and was it powerful enough for its time?
It was two J-52 Pratt & Whitney engines.
Roger. Was the plane considered underpowered, or was it okay?
No, it was overpowered to a point to where the F-14s at the time would ask the A-6 Intruders to slow down. Because our normal flight, we could do close to. We couldn't do the speed of sound, but we can come close to the speed of sound.
Mm.
And fly easily at it. Where the F-14s were like saying, hey, just slow down, or we're gonna have to go in Afterburner.
That's interesting because it doesn't look like a fast plane. It's got a big, fat, bulby nose. You wouldn't think it was fast, but that's actually really impressive to see that. Okay. Very good. I'm gonna have to try and track down an A-6 pilot at some point. Must be some somewhere. Right, okay. Next question. What were the main issues with the aging fleet of Intruders that you worked on? So was there something like fatiguing on that fatigued a lot, or something that wore out a lot, or something like that?
Well, you got to think about it like this. Most of the Intruders came out in 1958. So even though they went to the air, back to the airframe, which is where they go to get rehabbed. That's an old airplane. I mean, after a while, parts were not being manufactured anymore. We had to make our own parts.
Huh. How do you do that?
Well, we'd have shops on aboard the ship or shops on shore that would do it.
There was intruders dropping bombs in the first Gulf War, wasn't there? So they would have been over 30 years
Right.
old already, those planes.
Right.
So that's quite a service life. And I imagine they probably get used more or less every day, those planes as well.
I mean, the only plane older than the A-6 was the B-52.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so it had a good life then. Okay.
Oh, I had a great life.
Next question is on to the pilot. What was the... let me try and read this. What was the pilot's opinion of the aircraft? And did you get a lot of complaints from the pilot?
No, they loved that plane. They knew it'd bring them back home.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much the most important bit.
That's a rugged aircraft.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see any with damage?
Yes, I have. I mean, you're going to get wear and tear, and you're going to get accidents, of course. But combat damage, no, I didn't see none of that.
No. Okay.
The Iraqis couldn't shoot that good.
Yes, I've heard. The next question is a personal question for you, Cedric. What is your personal favourite aircraft of all time?
I love my A-6, but I'm a 14, buddy.
You're 14, yeah, that's fine. That's a pretty sexy aeroplane.
That. I mean, when I first got out of boot camp, that's the squadron I put in for was at F-14s.
Were you operating off the same carrier as the Tomcats?
Oh yeah,
So you're all mixed in together.
actually the F-14s were right down the street from the A-6s at Oceana.
Mm.
Jolly Rogers was was one of our squadrons, and the Flying Aces.
Okay. DCS. Are you a fan of DCS, and have you flown the DCS sim yourself?
I love DCS, and right now I'm trying to find someone to help me learn how to fly the F-14.
Oh, so you got the F-14. Is that your only plane, or have you got others?
I've got I got a couple of. I got the Russian trainer, and I got the P-51, but I'm not a prop guy.
Yeah, fair play. I'll send you... I've got a link of a little video showing how to get into our training server. I'll show you that, and then there's loads of guys there that will help. I'll make sure I do that afterwards. Okay, very good. Can you tell us any interesting stories of your time in service?
Well, we did have a bit of a calamity over at Oceana. We had a nugget pilot, which means it's his first year. He was in VA-42, and he was coming in for a landing. And for some reason, he lost his hydraulics. And then he went to use his blowdown, which is nitrogen, to blow down his gears. And for some reason, that failed. So we had to do a belly landing. Now, on most naval air stations, they have arresting gear set up. So all he had to do was fly the plane in, drop his hook, catch the wire. He'd be okay. Like I said, he was a nugget. Came in, he overshot, hit the runway, and skidded off into the grass, which took us about 6-7 hours, because I was with the I was with 42 at the time. It took us about 6 hours to get the plane off the grass, loaded up on dollies, and took it back to the hangar.
Was that an Intruder, did you say?
And like I said, the pilot and the BN, they were fine. But what we found out was, there was a squirrel in the plane.
What the hell?
And this squirrel chewed through the hydraulic hoses and the nitrogen hoses.
Good Lord. How the hell
So
did that
this
get
goes
there?
to show you. And they figured he crawled up in the bird cage.
All right.
Now, we did have one tragic accident. It was with the VA-55. They were flying out to the Midway, and one of their jets took off and had a compression stall, which caused the plane to flip over and crash at the end of the runway. The pilot and the BN weren't able to. Well, they ejected, but they didn't survive.
Mm-hmm. Too low.
I was too low, and it was at a bad angle, and the pilot got injected into a tree, and the BN, he got injected into the restraint of the ground.
Mm.
But the major tragedy was there was a lady who was going to, because the runway is over a highway, and when the plane crashed, it hit her car,
Wow.
killing her. And the thing was, she was she was the wife of the pilot.
Good Lord. Yeah, that's a tragedy, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's push on. Next question is, was it a big team that was needed to maintain the A-6 or not?
Not really. I mean, you had your airframe department and propulsion and stuff like that. But the plane was not that hard to maintain, really. I mean, this is, like I said, this is 1958 technology.
Hmm.
So it was pretty much open the panel, change out a unit. But the only thing that we really had to worry about were the black boxes, because it used radars and FLIRs. There's a lot of black boxes you had to pull out.
Like recorders?
Huh?
Like, are they like recorders recording data?
Well, recorders, but when we say in the military, when we say black boxes, we're really talking like computers. You know, not like in the air, like in
Oh, right. Yeah, I gotcha.
the airline. Black boxes are for recording, but in the military, when we say black boxes, those are computers, and they are painted black.
Right. Okay. So lots of those that needed changing, they wore out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Um, the next question is about the Intruder. What was the Intruder's typical payload, loadout, and was it capable of a wide variety of missions?
Well, the Intruder. It just depends. I mean, you could put rock eyes on it. You could put 82s. Um, Towards the end of its career, they started putting sidewinders on it. It carried the harm, and then, well, first it was the strike, then the harm. It can carry mines. Um, it can carry Zuni rockets. I mean, if it goes boom, it can carry it.
Did it have any gun pods?
Yes, they did carry gun pods, but not often.
Hmm.
Because the HUDs were not set up for guns.
Right.
You gotta remember this plane was strictly made for dropping ordnance.
Just going through some various pictures, and they can carry a lot of bombs. I don't know what bombs they are, but they can carry a lot. Can't even count them. Well over 20 bombs. Okay, very good. Next, is it a big jet? As it looks quite small in the pictures. How does it compare with other contemporary aircraft in terms of size?
Let's put it like this: an F-18 was smaller than an A-6. Because as you can see, it's quite a. That's what they called it, a medium attack bomber.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it can be too big because, like I say, it had to fit on a carrier. And as you can see, the wings could fold up. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Right, where do we get to? Were you deployed at some of the hot zones at the time, and did you have to repair or see any battle damage?
We flew the Gulf of Sidra, but I didn't get a chance to go on any combat missions. As I like to say, by the time we hit the Gulf War, I had transferred out. But I had my buddies. I knew a lot of people there. Actually, you probably saw one of the pilots on TV.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Lieutenant Zahn. He was one of the few aircraft that was shot down, and he was shot down and captured, and he was on TV. He was one of the few pilots that made statements on the for the Iraqis.
When was that? 91?
Yeah, it was the first Gulf War.
I don't remember it. But just looking for any pictures. Okay. Cool. Didn't realise that was a thing, but very good. What else have we got? What was the ejection system of the A-6? Is it ejection seat, or is it a whole cockpit module like the F-111?
Okay, no, we were seats. Now the thing about the ejection seats, we had two ways of ejecting. Now you had an ejection handle in front of on the pilot's dashboard. And if you pulled that handle, the canopy would blow off. Then the seats would eject. Or you could grab the curtain, pull it over your face. Now, once you did that, what happens was there's a rod behind the ejection seat, and the rod would fire up and bust the canopy glass. And as the canopy glass is being busted up, you're being launched out through there. So there were two ways of being, of ejection out of the Intruder. Now the EA6B Prowler was a different thing. They had to go through the glass because if they tried to eject the canopy, the guy in the back gets trapped.
Right.
And the only thing about the EA6B, there's only been 2 successful ejections out of it. Because you're firing 4 guys out. And when these guys launch, it's not when they pull the handle. Whoever pulls the handle, the guys in the front go first. Then the guys in the rear.
It's quite a big delay.
And they're firing at a more of a 45 degree angle away from the plane. And so they're going straight up. Everybody's going at a 45 degree angle.
To get away from each other.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So same kind of question. Was it a 0-0 capable seat? So that means when.
Yes.
Right. So it can be done from 0 speed, 0 altitude, essentially.
Right. Now this is it's a funny story to me and some other guys. I had a friend of mine. He was with VA-42. As a plane captain, we're supposed to pin the seats, which means we put pins in the ejection holes so they don't fire.
Right.
Well, my buddy forgot to put the pin in for the canopy. So when he stood up to get out of the plane, he actually slipped and hit the canopy ejection.
Oh, good lord.
And it blew off. And the canopy ripped the tail off the airplane.
Wow.
So actually, my buddy got discharged 2 weeks later from the Navy.
So you're supposed to put the pin in first, which would stop it triggering, presumably.
Right. Before you even get in the airplane, you got to lean in there and start putting those pins in. There's 13 pins you got to put in there. You got to pin up the seat. You got to pin up the handles. And you got to put a pin in the ejection rod. And I'm saying 13 pins, you got to do the pilot seat, then you got to walk around and do the BM seat.
Let's move on then. Ken, personal to you, what made you want to join the Navy? Was it your goal to start with?
Well, most people laugh when I tell them. There was a commercial on back in the 80s, and it said, U.S. Navy Operation Hawaii. And it was the Nimitz, and they were doing flight ops in Hawaii. And I watched it, and I said, that's what I want to do. Next day, I went to the recruiter and said, I want to be on the flight deck.
Cool. Okay. Next question. Now, I don't know if you'll know this, but can you tell us a bit more about the AAS 33 DRS? Does that mean anything to you? I'm trying to look it up now.
Yeah, I saw that. I Googled that too. I didn't see anything. It sounds like they're talking about a radio or a radar system.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It comes up with pictures with a tram. It comes up pictures with some stuff in the cockpit, but nothing obvious about how this works. We'll skip over that one, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah, be interesting, but I don't know. Okay, fine. Were there? Let me just read this. Were there a lot of problems related to the fuselage and wing fatigue? And was the A-6 easy to maintain for the missions? So how was the fatigue on it?
Well, like I say, the plane is an old plane. And the thing about it was, like I said, the A-6 flew low level. So we're flying through canyons. We're flying treetop. So there was a lot of wing fatigue, yeah. But it wasn't like catastrophic. I mean, what we do is we go with when the airplane comes in to the shop, we use just like when you go to the hospital, we x-ray it. And if we find micro fissures in it, then we send it to AIMD, which is the equivalent of sending it to a car parts. And they send us a new part, or they rehab the wing. Take out the part that's damaged, put in a new part, weld it on, or whatever they do to it, and send us back the wing. We put it back on the airplane.
Next question. Do you think the jet was retired prematurely in favour of the Hornet, or do you think it was retired at the right time?
Personally, it was the right time, because with the newer SAMs coming out, she couldn't take it. She'd be knocked out of the sky. I mean, even with the flares and the the anti-radar, she was, like I say, she was getting old, and it was a big target on the radar screen.
Okay. The next question is, what was the difference between the newer airframes and the older airframes? Some were built in the early 90s, we believe. Did you ever deal with the newer airframes?
Nope.
So you had all
the newest
older
airframe
ones.
we had was 1974.
That's pretty old.
And that was back in the 80s.
Next question then. Was there anything specific required for the Intruder in order to prep it for a mission that was not the same as other carrier-based jets?
Now, you see, that's actually the Hornet is more different than anything else, because with the Hornet, they bring a little laptop computer and their boxes and prep the plane for combat. Everything was pre-programmed in the boxes in there and in the laptop. Where the A-6, they had to go in there and manually punch in this and punch in that. And of course, just like the F-14, you couldn't move the plane until it's synchronized. So like I say, you're dealing with 60, 70 technology, trying to make it with 80 technology. It kind of doesn't, it has a hard time talking to it, to each other. But we used to watch the Hornet guys. They walk up in there, throw a couple of boxes in, hit a little bump, 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 and boom, they're gone.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the benefits of a more modern plane.
Right.
Okay. Where are we? Can you describe roughly what it was like being on board the carrier and the people you were working with?
Carrier's like, all it is, it's a town. It's a town in the ocean. You got your 7-Elevens. Well, we call them 7-Elevens. Stores. We had like our little McDonald's up forward. You watch movies. Nowadays they got cell phones and stuff on board. And I've got a nephew. He's on board the Roosevelt. And he's telling me it's a whole new ship from what I was on. I mean, it's pretty, like I say, it's a city on the ocean. You got barber shops. They even got beauty shops for the females. So it's nice to be on. I would rather be on the carrier than on the destroyer.
Yeah, right.
Only thing close is the LPDs, and I don't want to be on them either.
What's an LPD?
The mini carriers.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I got it. Okay. You were lucky then. You had a floating town.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. If there's an average time that it took for you guys to prep an intruder for the mission, what would the average time be?
Combat situation, under 30 minutes.
Under 30 minutes. That's not bad.
Yeah. But if we're just doing a training flight, it might take an hour. Because then we're going over all the systems and everything. Because, like I say, as a plane captain, right, I've got to go out to that plane. I've got to make sure that there's no hydraulic leaks. I got to make sure the LOX is full. That's the liquid oxygen. I've got to make sure that the plane is properly fueled. I mean, the worst thing you can have is a pilot who comes out there and he checks his fuel load, and if he's supposed to have 12K and all he has is 10K, he's screaming.
Right.
Because then he's got to refigure how he's going to tank, when he can tank. Because, like I say, these things have been thought out long and ahead of time. So if we're dealing with the Air Force with their tankers, we've already, got the protocol out there. They'll know when they're going to be up there. And if we got to deal with our tankers, we got to figure out, well, hell, when we gonna, where can we meet this guy at? Because you got to remember, the tankers, the A6Ds don't go like regular tankers. They stay around the ship. If they have to venture out, they're going to burn up more fuel than they can tank to the plane. So you've got to learn, you've got to get everything together on a training flight to where a combat flight, everything is kind of put together. They're going to have emergency tankers.
Okay. Next question. On your ship, how many A6s would you have on board? And were they all flying, or did you keep some kind of for spares?
Yeah. It just depends on the bombing package. Some packages are four ship. Some packages are 2 ship. Now, whenever we're getting ready to send out a package, whether it's a 4 or a 2 ship, we always have 2 planes running in case one of the original ships will go down. So you always have 2 spears running just in case one of the other planes has a problem. Their computer goes down or an engine goes down, or something catastrophic where the plane can't fly. Now, my squadron had 36 planes. So we had 36 planes that we were, in charge of, that we kept going. Then the Navy cut that in half because they kind of figured that it was too many planes for one squadron to deal with. So they cut it down to 18 and took the other 18 and made another squadron out of it, which was the VA-36 Roadrunners. And they did that all through the Navy because they figured that was too many planes, for one squadron. Now it was 36. So they cut it in half and made, more squadrons.
Mm. Okay.
And then, of course, we got to worry about the Marine Corps because because at the time they had A6s too, and they went on deployments with us too.
Right. Okay. Back to simulation. If the Intruder came to DCS, what do you think it would bring to the sim?
Well, I put it like this. What you try to do with the Frogfoot and the A-10, we'll do it with no problem. And we're faster.
True.
So we can get in and get out quicker. Now, the A-10 can loiter. And that 30 caliber Gatling gun, I love that Gatling gun, can tear up some equipment. But we can do the bombing package. We can laze at high altitude. That's like with the B-1 bomber. How they got that what is that, sharpshooter
Right.
package. We were doing that with the tram unit.
Yeah.
We sit there at 36,000 feet, laser target, let it go, boom.
It would be pretty cool. Take off of a carrier, head over land, and then be flying at treetop level. We haven't got anything that's specialised for that at the moment.
Yeah, like I say, you flying for treetop level, you can fly mid level, or you can fly high at a high level. A-6 can do it. You can do it in the rain. You can do it at night. Do it in the snow. We did it. We were in Norway, and we were in the fjords, and it was snowing. Planes were slipping and sliding, but we launched them,
Cool.
and they hit the target.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like I said, that plane was a rough and tough bucket. I mean, like I said, it was proven in Vietnam. So if it came out of Vietnam, you know, who's going to stop it?
Yeah, fair play. Okay. Next question is about the Prowler. You said you did not work on the Prowler, didn't you?
Right, didn't work with them. I mean,
yeah.
we helped them out, but we didn't work on the plane. No.
All right, we'll skip that next question then.
I mean, I might know it.
Okay, well it says, have you ever worked on the Prowler, and was it much different to the Intruder?
Okay, the like I said, I never worked on one, but I've when they fly across, because they were stationed in Whidbey Island in Washington, Whidbey Island, and they would fly over to Oceana for the deployment. And since we were in A-6 squadron, they're in A-6, we would catch their planes, park them, fuel them. So yeah, I've prepped them, but we never worked on them unless we had to. I mean, like I say, they had the same engines, same electronic parts. I mean, except for a few secret parts that we didn't use and that they used. Only thing different about the Prowler, it was longer. It had 2 extra seats in the back. But it could drop bombs like an H-6 Intruder. It could fire missiles, strikes, harms, sea mines. I mean, the Prowler could do pretty much everything an A-6 could do. We just did it better.
Fair play. Did the Intruder carry chaff and flares?
Yes, we did. I hated those things.
Why?
Because we had the old ones, and they came preloaded, okay? And if there was a stray voltage, they go off.
Wow.
That's why you always have to keep them pinned up for flight. Right before they take off. That's when you unpin the chaff buckets.
Whereabouts were they on the plane? I can't see anything on the.
You won't. They're actually towards the back, towards the bottom. There used to be on some of the older models, like the C and the D models, the speed brakes were actually on the fuselage.
Yep.
And they'd open up. So right in that area is where they put the chaff and flares.
Yep. Yeah, I
Then
kind
if
of.
you look at, like I say, if you look at the D model, all the speed brakes are on the wingtips.
Right. Okay. I was just looking for pictures. There's not many pictures. Fine. Where are we? Did you work on the tanker versions? You did, didn't you? And how different was that from the rest of the fleet?
Now, tanker was that was your stripped down model because the BN, all he had to do was dispense gas. He didn't really navigate that much. So his console was dispensing the fuel, reading the fuel, pressures, stuff like that. Where the pilot, he had to fly and navigate. If you look at your F-14 and that green vid screen down by the middle, you know what I'm talking about?
TID, yeah.
Same one on an A-6.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Same one.
Let me go and have a look.
And whatever the BN saw, the pilot could see too.
Yep.
They had that same green screen. I used to hate that thing. Because sometimes if the AE department didn't have a chance, we had to pull them out. And those things are heavy. Oh,
Yeah.
they're heavy.
Was it the pilot on the left? Pilot on the left?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pilot on the left, BN on the right, bomber navigator on the right.
Right. So did the screens show the same thing you said?
Well, he could slave it over to the pilot.
Yep.
Now, the BN, he had, if you looked at it, he's got a hood.
Yeah.
And he sticks his head into that scope, and you never see him again.
Right.
Once he's in there, that's all he does. He's looking at the hood. Because he's actually telling the pilot, he's steering the pilot on where the target is.
Right.
And when you had a real good team together, pilot and the BN wouldn't even talk to each other. The BN would slap the pilot a certain way on the leg, and the pilot knew what to do. Or if the BN grabbed the pilot on the shirt, he knew exactly what on his flight suit. He knew what he knew what he wanted.
It's a beautiful
That's
thing.
how good they got.
The beautiful thing about a side-by-side cockpit, isn't it?
Right.
You'd have that kind of thing.
That's one thing I don't like about the F-14 is that it's tandem.
Yeah, so you lose that interaction.
Because you're always talking to each other. And sometimes you have a tendency to want to look at the back and say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. Okay. When was the last time you had any dealings with the Intruder? And what's the thing you'll most remember about it?
I was right before I transferred. Just going down to the hangar and, kind of giving it a tap on the old fuselage and saying goodbye to the old girl.
Okay. The next question is quite a big question, so I'm going to get started. As far as I understand, the A-6 was one of the last US military aircraft built for low-level ground attack. Other aircraft, like the ground roll series of Tornado, were optimized for this by having turbofans with a certain bypass ratio and a high wing loading. This made them exceedingly sexy at low level, but created problems when used as interceptors at high altitude. So the Tornadoes were very bad at high altitude. So my question is, did you see much change in the aircraft systems between when you started in 1985 to the time they saw combat during the Gulf War and the US Navy had to stop flying them at low level?
Like I said, the Intruder can fly low level, it can fly medium level, and it can fly high level. We trained for all three areas. I mean, 1 week we'll be down at the Grand Canyon, flying the canyon.
Cool.
Next week we'll be at a bombing range in Florida, flying mid level. Next week they'll be flying over to Puerto Rico. There's an island out there in Puerto Rico that we use for high level bombing. So, like I said, the Intruder pilots were always being trained, to fly different levels, different scenarios. And like they would always tell me, they used to hate flying at night, low level. But their thing was, no offense, but they hated the Brits, especially the Tornado pilots, because what we consider low level and what they consider low level was way below our hard deck. And I think y'all had more accidents than we did. I mean, we had our share of accidents. I mean, we've had guys fly into telephone wires, high powered wires. We watched jets, and these were guys that were playing around. They used to do a thing called suck the water, which means they would get down to about maybe 10 to 12 feet above the ocean, and the intake would actually start sucking water into the intake.
Cool.
But aside from the horse playing, nah, they said you Brits are crazy.
Yes, we are. Okay. Okay. We often hear about some rocky relationships between pilots and ground crew during these interviews. Do you have any good or bad stories from working with pilots, and what can be done in order to make a healthy relationship between the pilots and the ground crew?
Me personally, I've only had the ones I've always had a problem with were the ring knockers. And when I say ring knockers, I'm talking about the Annapolis guys. The guys that came out of Annapolis, they were always the stiff neck. Is that how you salute an officer? Is my plane ready? Yada, yada, yada. And then you had guys that went through college, then went to flight school. They were like, hey, Taylor, how's it going? Going just fine, sir. You ready to go? Rock and roll time, sir. So you had like I say, it depended on the pilot. Okay? It depended on the pilot and the flight, and then the flight crew. Because I remember one time I had a plane, and she was ready to go. I had her primed up, hooked up, everything. Huffer was on, power was on, seats were pulled back, ready to go. I had a laid back officer. What was his name? I can't remember his name now, but he was laid back. And to be in, they came in, they did their walk around, they signed off the plane to take charge of it. And they stopped. They looked at me and they said, "Look, we're gonna fly down to Key Largo. You want lobster?" I said, "Yes, sir." They flew down to Key Largo. Sorry. They had blibbits on the plane, which are like carrying like suitcases for an
yeah.
airplane. They packed the plane full of dry ice and lobsters. They flew back. They came to my room, knocked on the door, said, "Hey, here are your lobsters." I said, "Thank you, sir."
That's pretty cool. Okay. Right. Last question. As the A-6 was operated by both the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps, how differently were they maintained and operated by both services?
For all you jarheads out there, take this with a grain of salt. You beat the hell out of them planes. They transfer planes when like if we have a plane and it goes hard down, which means we can't fix it on the ship, we'll transfer it out and we'll get another plane in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got this A-6 in from what was that, Marine Corps? They got the checkered tail on their rudder. Can't remember the name of their squadron. But they sent us one of their planes, right? They landed it, put it on deck. We did our pre-inspection walk around. And I swear to God, in the body was a tree branch. They flew solo. They put trees in the plane. Then, like I say, we had to go through the electronics, and that was hell. So we had to take the plane, take it down the deck, sand it down, repaint it, put our stuff on it. That plane was the worst plane we ever had. Every time we took off, it came back with a hard gripe. So, Marines just fly the hell out of planes. No respect.
No respect, that's right. Okay, we've come to the end of the questions now. Anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, I just enjoy talking with you, and I enjoy watching you guys fly.
Cool. That's what we like. Okay, Cedric. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for contacting me and taking us through your stories and giving us your time, really. I will sign off now, but thanks a lot, and I'll catch you later.
Alrighty.
All right, I'll see you, man.
Bye. Thank you.